Welcome to 365 Brothers, the podcast. Have you wondered who are the Black men that you pass on the street every day? What are their lives like? Well, in this podcast, we have an in-depth conversation with Black men from all across America and all walks of life. Listen to their stories, their experiences, their wisdom. I'm your host, Robin Shine. Get comfy. Today, we are speaking with a businessman. He's a serial entrepreneur and a realtor. We're speaking with Mr. Kevin Cooper. Welcome, Kevin. So great to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Excellent. So is there anything you'd like to share with the listeners before we drop in on the questions?
I'm grateful to be here today, and I appreciate the invite for this interview, and I'm looking forward to having a nice chat with you.
Okay, great. I love it. So then here's the first question. What is your favorite song, either right now or all time, and why?
So many of them. I love music. I want to say a song that really has a purpose and it really carried me through some time in my life, inspirational. And I'm going to go with Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, lyrics and the message. It was like ahead of its time, and it applies today to all these different generations.
I love it. You've answered both what and why. Understood.
Yeah.
So we all have, many things that stand out for us. But for you, what is a favorite childhood memory?
I was 8 or 9 years old. Definitely in the beginning of elementary school. Good old day. Kids at that time, we always had to play outside. And I remember one time I was getting picked on, like by a bully. He was older than me, bigger than me, real small as a kid. I remember coming in the house crying. Right, I think he had hit me or pushed me. So when I came in crying, my mother, she looked at me. She was like, "What happened? What's going on? Why are you crying?" And I said, "Such and such." I don't remember the kid's name, but I said, "Such and such hit me." She was like, "Hit you?" And she said, "Did you hit him back?" And I said, "No." I said, "He was bigger than me." She said, "Well, go pick up a stick and go back down there and hit him." and then, like I said, "Nah, that's all right." And this is what she told me. She said, "Well, if you don't go pick up a stick and go down there and hit him, I'm going to hit you." And then I said, "Okay, I'll be right back." I went and got a stick and went and looked for him. I had one of them OG. I was actually raised by my great aunt, my grandmother's sister. She was OG and she just didn't play. She was real small, but she had a lot of heart and real tough. She didn't play, and I didn't want no parts of her. I'd rather take my chances with that bully than with her.
Oh, gosh.
That moment it sticked out with me as a kid, even growing up to this day. Just, I learned something that.
What did you learn?
I learned that, listen, you don't always have to be, biggest guy or the strongest guy, right, in the situation. But, you have to defend yourself and have to let a person know that you're just not going to be ran over.
That is definitely old school right there. I don't remember hearing that to me, perhaps because I'm a girl, I don't know. But I do remember hearing that in the household,
right.
Like some of my male cousins, you know what I mean?
Yep. Man.
Yeah, it was serious back then, but they knew, they knew what it took to get you to, stand up for yourself. And I love that you said it's a life lesson because those situations don't stop coming. They just change the form. With that, I'm now going to ask you about accomplishment. And I asked this question in two parts. I first want to know about an accomplishment that's really important to you personally and then an accomplishment that means a lot to others. In other words, it's the kind of thing when you tell people, they go, oh, wow. What's your favorite accomplishment personally?
Probably for me, my most proud accomplishment thus far, probably receiving this certificate at Cerritos College as an industrial engineering technician.
What was it about receiving that it meant so much to you?
Well, I ended up going to Cerritos College for a year for a new career path temporarily. We had devastating depression, real estate market crash, 2008-9. So I decided to look into another field that I had no previous background in. So I'm going in there like a kindergarten, like a 5-year-old, and it was challenging. It was full-time trade school, whole year, even through the summer, Monday through Friday. I had to really just roll up my sleeves and focus and learn electrical, mechanical, engineering concepts, math, like all in one, uh, processing, and it was very challenging. And I like to use my mind, and it really pushed me. And it was a proud moment for me personally because I did pass. I made it through. It was a class of about 30 of us. I was one of the older students, and out of all of us, I was the very first one that was hired for a position, a job in class. And
it sounds like your prior work had not been in that field. And so this was really just taking on something completely new and mastering it. That's great. And what about the accomplishment that impresses others?
Probably a lot of people are surprised when I tell them I'm a veteran. I tell them that I was served in Iraq, off war. Mm. And I had honorable discharge, and I even received a couple medals. Wow. I tell people that they become, oh, wow. Yeah,
I know, I just did it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that people kind of surprise me to tell them.
Can you share one of the medals that you received and what it was for?
Medal for Desert Storm, for being in war zone. We also received a combat award, participating in actual Gulf Desert Storm. Yeah. It was like a recognition.
Yeah, well, thank you for your service. I teach government and law and economics, but whenever I am teaching government, we talk about the Constitution or our rights. It's important for me that students know it is a privilege to be in a country where I don't worry about a bomb going off because we are so well protected. So we're going to move into words now. What is your favorite quote, saying, metaphor, or book?
One that I like, I would say, is actually from Martin Luther King Jr. And the one, it's not I Have a Dream, not that one. I like the one he said, can't run, then walk. Then walk, crawl. But no matter whatever you do, gotta keep moving. Yeah. You cannot quit. Do not give up. Keep it moving.
I love it. I can actually see the tie-in with that favorite memory too. It's just keep going, do it. Yeah. Right. So what is a person, moment, conversation, or event that stands out as either changing the trajectory of your life or simply had a significant impact on your life?
For me, growing up in the inner city during the crack era, the 80s, was devastating for our community. And it brought on a lot of violence, a lot of gang violence, drugs. And I was right there growing up in there, going through junior high school and high school. Seen a lot of friends going to jail, even some murdered, some killed. And I didn't want to be another statistic. So one of my good friends, he enlisted and going into the Air Force. And he committed early. And he would always come and talk to me about joining. And at the time, nah, it's not for me. I don't think so. But I kind of didn't really want to go to college right away. I was kind of getting burned out from school. Mm-hmm. And again, my mother was the type of mother that she wasn't just going to have me sitting around out. I had to have plans. I was 18, getting ready to graduate in a few months. I had to go ahead and enlist in the United States Navy. Did it on my own. I had went down and signed up with a recruiter without even discussing it with my mother. Just did it because I just felt like I needed to get away from my environment. I felt like I was caught up in that system. That was a defining moment for me. And when I came home and I shared with her, told me she was actually sad to see me go, told me she understood and she supported me on that decision that I made. Made it clear that it wasn't forcing me to leave, like I didn't have to go, if I didn't really want to stay home and go to community college. Told her, no, I think it's best that I get away and see some of the rest of the world outside of it. That was a defining moment, and I'm glad I went. It changed my life, and it turned me into a young man, and I don't regret it. And one of the best things ever.
Wow, that's fabulous. What is a moment or event that spotlights your experience as a Black man in America?
When I went to the military, you're going to be in there with all different walks of life, all different nationalities and races. So I remember one time, this gentleman, Caucasian man, young white adult, probably was a few years older than me, but relatively my same age group. He was from the country down south, and what blew me away and what blew him away told me that this was the first time in his life that he had ever saw a Black person in life.
Say what?
He never saw a Black person in life until he came into the military. And that blew me away. He only saw him like on TV.
What state was he from?
He's from somewhere like Arkansas or where.
Wow, but so rural. He just never. Wow.
But he didn't even realize he was racist, but he was. But it was like it was innocent in a sense. we became good friends, but it was innocent because he didn't realize just how he grew up and he talked and he said the N word, that the hard N, word.
Yeah.
He didn't realize that he was racist. He never saw a Black person in life in person. So that blew me away.
And do you recall any particular instances of something that he had believed and then realized, whoa, I didn't even realize that was that I have been trained to see Blacks a particular way? And it may not, but is there one that stands out?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not one. Yeah.
All right. Wow. I got to tell you now, that's the first.
That was interesting for me as well.
Yeah. And what did you think about it when you heard that?
I was like in awe and shock, and I was in disbelief,
Yeah.
Because being from California and Long Beach, we got every race out here.
Yeah. That's funny. I appreciate you saying that because I forget that you're just reminding me that there are no doubt places in the United States today where that could still be true, will still be true.
Definitely.
Yeah. So now I'm going to ask you about interactions with law enforcement. Have you had any that stand out? What has your experience with law enforcement been?
Usually, unfortunately, it's been negative. And it's not just because of race. I had some negative experience with some Black officers. Well, not just white officers, but it's always been negative. And I've had only a couple, and I don't have no bad record as far as criminal or whatnot. But I have been arrested for DUI, so I've been pulled over. Traffic violations. Most of the time, I've always been cooperative. The law enforcement just tend to always have some kind of edge or chip on their shoulder, or always pretty much came off like rude, um, confrontational, you know. And like I mentioned, and not even with just white officers, with some black officers. Well,
Do you have an experience that you could share?
yeah, I have one. Actually, I'm gonna say one about this black officer, young officer. This was actually about 2 years ago. Actually, dropping my mother off at LAX. My mother right now lives out in North Carolina. She was out here visiting me a couple of weeks, and I had got into the express lane, and I got one of those devices, transponders where you get into the express lane.
Yeah.
And you have to have it on one person or two people, obviously. So I had it on two. It was me and her. Dropped her off. This was in the morning, like I don't know, a Thursday morning. On LAX coming from Long Beach. Drop her off. I'm heading back home. I'm on a 110 South. And next thing I know, police officer jumps behind me with his lights on. I'm like, wow, I must be speeding. Of course. So pull over, young black officer by himself, walks over to the car and he said, you know why I'm pulling you over? I said, I have no idea. I said, maybe speeding. I might have been going a little fast. He said, no, actually, I'm pulling you over because he said, I get alerted, like I'm on this assignment and I'm getting alerted, transponder that you have two people in the car. I said, my bad. I said, I forgot to change it over to one. I said, I just dropped my mother off, airport. And I forgot, real simple. He said, yeah, I understand it. Let me see your license and your insurance and blah, blah, blah. And so I gave him everything he asked for. He said, I'll be right back. So he's obviously going to check to see if I got any warrants. He's reading my plates and checking my driver's license. And he comes back about a couple minutes later. And I'm thinking I'm just going to be cool and say, all right, man, just change it and take off. Comes back with a ticket, right? And I said, what's this for? He said, you got the transponder on too and you by yourself. I said, I understand it all. I said, just let you know if I got to switch over. I said, can you give me a warning? Can you give me a pass? I said, I'm actually also a veteran. I said, I'm a license plate too. I said, I'm a veteran. And I was just hoping that you could give me a warning this time. He said, if I did this for you, I have to do it for everybody. He said, unfortunately, I cannot. And I said, wow. I said, well, how much is the ticket? He said, I'm not sure. He said, you can call that number and find out. And then he said, and they'll take it from there. He said, just switch over to the one transponder. I said, wow. Well, thanks a lot. I think it was like $300.
Wow.
I had to pay it. He was a young black dude, just in a jerk.
I am sorry because I do know that they do have the ability to, to give warnings and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. On the one hand, I was kind of like holding my breath as you were talking. One of my guests, the one that he shared about was being in Long Beach, going down Cherry between Carson and Del Amo, where there's a cemetery on one side and then the park on the other. Well, he was young. He didn't want to ride on the side with the cemetery. He crossed the street to ride on the side with the park.
Wow.
And the officer gave him a ticket for riding on the wrong side of the street. And he said, I didn't want to ride on the side with the cemetery. Guy had no
sympathy.
Yeah, no sympathy. And, and I know that there are times that they do just give a pass. So I do know what you speak of. So now is when I get to ask you this question. Whether she was a friend, lover, wife, stranger, neighbor, if the United States were a woman, what would you say to her?
You are heartbreaking.
You want to elaborate at all?
Yeah. All is fair in love and war. That I do know. And love can hurt. And the United States have been a definitely toxic relationship. And, no matter how hard you try to keep it together, make it work, it seems like I can get my heart broke, like being in a bad relationship where you try to make amends, move on, but, the past keep getting reminded back to you in this relationship. Like instead of us being able to move on, we keep getting reminded of the past. It's hard to move on even when it seems like we're doing well. That I might find out that you're cheating on. I might, find out that you kept something from me. That's cheating. It's called when you want to have relationship and yes, we're not being intimate. Trust is not there anymore. Once you lose trust, pretty much a done, hard to regain.
Yeah. First of all, I love that the first thing out of your mouth was heartbreaker. I mean, just because as soon as you said that, one of the things that came to mind was that Obama's election. Like there's this hope, this like, oh, wow, okay. And then here we are in this new movement because it's like, wait, we've got some progress. And then, oh, okay, I see what's going on. And so that, and then the other thing is the word that comes to mind in that latter part is estranged. And, it's, I know that there are people, many races, but I especially think of for us, for African Americans, that the relationship can very much seem estranged at times. So, Kevin, what is love to you?
Love is unconditional to me. Love is priceless. It can be bought. It can hurt. It can also heal. Unconditional love is not like holding a grudge. Being forgiving, being a bigger person. Like love really conquers all, and it can definitely heal pain, suffering. Real love is not petty. Real love is strong.
Yeah. As we kind of look back, there's so much that you've shared about yourself that stands out. Is there anything else that we haven't covered about you that stands out as a challenge to some of the stereotypes that are out there about Black?
I would say purpose. Everybody here for a reason. I don't believe it an accident or a mistake. We all have a unique talent somewhere. You need to know why you were created and know your own identity, purpose. I think that'll help you throughout your life if you know it.
And what's yours, Kevin?
My purpose is to help and also just play a role. Now, I love myself. I don't have any like insecurity. I feel like I'm more of like want to use a chess game and pieces on the chess. I feel like I'm more of a pawn in this world. I'm okay with that. I feel like I have a role. As long as I execute my role and do it well, I'm serving. Like being in the military, there's a pecking order. I have no hard feelings about not being like the president. That's not my role. I can't be the quarterback, on the team. Somebody got blocked for him, Real good at it though. See, that's the key. I'm gonna be real good at my role and I'm gonna win. And
yeah,
that should help you win by passing the baton. As long as you know your role, make this thing work. Successful.
I love that. I love that. As a teacher, I realize that the principal has things that they need to run. I know that the school doesn't run without the work of teachers, but I also know if all the teachers are trying to make all the decisions about everything that happens on campus, it's going to be a mess. And so I love you pointing out we all have a role. Yeah.
All got a role.
I love that. So now that we've had this conversation, Kevin, and we've kind of taken a reflective look back over your life and there are various things that you've shared, what have you gained or seen out of your participation in this conversation for yourself?
I would say I gained just more awareness overall about Black male does play a significant part in this world and in the United States. We are a very low percentage as far as population, but we play a very significant role. We are strong. We are definitely one of a kind. I feel like this conversation has brought some light to that to let me know that we have a meaning. We have a purpose.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just appreciate the time you took. I love knowing that listeners will get from this episode that it's like there's a theme in all your answers that point to certainty in our commitment and standing where we stand and not giving ground. Like that's what I'm left with when I think about like who you are and what you've shared. It's wherever you stand there strong, stand there firm, and be your true, authentic self. And I appreciate that as a message for all of us, regardless of our sex, gender, race. It's such a comforting thing to hear and to know that will keep us strong. So thank you for being the embodiment of strength.
Thank you for listening. As you can hear, you do not want to miss any of these brothers. Make sure you subscribe. You can find more at our website, 365brothers.com, 365brothers.com. This is Robin Shine. To listen is to love.